It's another exciting day here in Algebra 2. We are back with inverses, looking at cubic and cube root functions now. And if you do recall, we just discussed how do you find the inverse. That is by switching x and y. And then our notation is always going to be to that -1 power. So f to the -1, g to the -1, etc. So we are now going to find our inverses from a function again. So I have this new one that is a cubic, and again, f of x is my y values. So this is where I'm going to switch x and y, and then use algebra to get y alone again. So the first thing I'm going to need to do is add this 2. And then to undo that cube, I'm going to cube root both sides. And then the last thing I need to do is subtract that 5, so y is going to be the cube root of x plus 2 minus 5. So our inverse, f to the -1 of x, is the cube root of x plus 2 minus 5. Now let's think to domain and range here again. I'm going to pull up Desmos. And for our original function, we had all real numbers for both our domain and our range. So what that tells me is when I graph my inverse, cube root of x plus 2 minus 5. This is also going to give me all real numbers for both the domain and the range. So with our cubic and cube roots, we don't have domain restrictions like we did with our quadratics and square roots. So moving on to the next one, again, this is my y value, so I'm going to switch x and y. To get y alone, the first thing I need to do is add 1. And then to undo that cube root, I'm going to cube both sides. So x plus 1 cubed equals 4y. The last thing I need to do is divide everything by 4. So x plus 1 cubed divided by 4. So that means g to the -1 of x is x plus 1 cubed divided by 4. And then again, my parent function was a cubic, which means, or my original function was a cubic, which means domain and range are going to be my all real numbers. And so for my inverse, it's going to stay the same. Okay, now let's look at graphs. Again, we are going to just look at the points and swap the coordinates. So at -1, 9, that would switch to 9, -1, 0, 7, 7, 0, 1, 5, 5, 1, and then there's one more down here, 2, -9, that would be -9, 2. So this gives me now points that I can connect the dots on. And for both that original and the inverse, we had domain and ranges that were all real numbers. Okay, last one. I am going to swap these coordinates. -5, -2, that becomes -2, -5. -4, 0 is 0, -4. And then 4, I missed one. -3, 2, that would be 2, -3. And then 4, 4 stays 4, 4. So the best I can, there we go. There's our inverse, and again, domain and range of all real numbers. So that obviously went much faster because we didn't have to worry about domain restrictions here, but that is our notes for inverses on cubic and cube root.